What's going on, everybody? Good late afternoon or early evening for some of you. And we've got some Seattle Seahawks and Seattle Seahawks related news, little bits and pieces of roster movement, little bits and pieces of potential roster movement, and a little bit of injury stuff as well, I guess, baked in. So let's go ahead and spin through it real quick. We've got a few different topics to get into. So let's start with a couple of things that I missed from yesterday. And I just didn't see this until later in the day. I posted that video yesterday. It was either yesterday evening or yesterday afternoon, where I talked a little bit about injury stuff with the Lions. And I missed this. And I also missed a comment from Mike McDonald that we'll get to in a second here. First, though, let's talk about this from the Detroit Lions. So I listed some of the players that they're losing or potentially losing this week. Guys like Laporta, guys like Davenport. I didn't mention Frank Ragnow. But according to Rappaport here in a tweet that was yesterday, so again, I just didn't see this. My bad. All-Pro center Frank Ragnow suffered a partially torn pec, making him week to week. So they don't think it's season ending yet, but it sure seems like he's not going to play this week. And that's what we as Seahawks fans are thinking about. Is he going to play this week or not? And it seems like the answer is no. So that is a big loss for one of the best offensive lines in football right now. Frank Ragnow was a big reason why they're so good. And now it seems like they're not going to have him. Of course, we're wondering if we're going to have our guy on the other side of the line, which would be Byron Murphy. I know that there's some people who are concerned about that hamstring. Potentially. I mean, there is some concern there. I'll talk more about that later in this video, actually. But if the Lions don't have Ragnow, they actually have a little bit of a problem figuring out who's going to play center for them, because I think that their typical replacement center, I can't remember the guy's name, it might be Graham Glasgow, is also hurt. So they actually don't have anybody familiar with snapping the ball right now. So I don't know what they're going to do, but this is a big, big loss. And it could lead to their offense being completely out of sync, because that exchange from center to quarterback is the start of every single play. So definitely worth monitoring what the Lions do at center after today. Maybe they bring somebody in. Maybe they let somebody who's never snapped in the NFL before try to snap for a game. But yeah, this is definitely big news, and I just didn't see it. I was looking at the Lions injury stuff, and there was a lot, but this one, which might be the biggest one, I don't know if it is, but it could be the biggest impact of any injury they have. Yeah, that's a big one going into Monday night. And the other thing that I missed yesterday was a comment from McDonald about Christian Haynes concerning Abe Lucas and maybe Laken Tomlinson a little bit. This is from Corbin here, basically indicating that Haynes would play this week. So Mike McDonald says Christian Haynes deserves more of a chance to compete this week, with the guard situation not being up to expectations so far, handling the position right now on a week-to-week basis. So this sure sounds to me like he's had enough of at least one of our two guards so far. Probably Bradford in this context, but either one's been pretty abominable. So however you want to slice it, it's it's certainly an indication that Haynes is going to get to play this week. And I've been in favor of that, because we don't have time to wait for Bradford to play at a, bad level, right? Because I said it before. I wish Anthony Bradford was bad. He's not bad. Bad is something that he strives to be right now. Right now, he's one of the worst players in football. And while we're waiting for him to remember how to play bad, we're gonna lose our quarterback. We're gonna have players get hurt because he's completely incompetent. So I don't have time to be patient right now. If I had a quarterback like a Jacoby Brissett, if I had a quarterback like a bridge quarterback like that, if I had a bridge quarterback like Jameis Winston, okay, that's one thing, right? That's a crash test dummy anyway. If I have one of those quarterbacks starting, I'm probably looking at a lost season anyway. I'm not really that worried about it. But we have a quarterback who is playing really well that it would be a big loss to lose for even a game or a half or a quarter. So this is, to me, a sign that Haynes is going to get to play next week, and I'm pretty excited about it. Okay, so that's the stuff I missed from yesterday. Let's go on to some new stuff from today. And this first thing is actually very interesting, and it's something that some people have been talking about. The Seahawks, according to Field Yates and many other sources, have hosted veteran offensive tackle Jason Peters on a free agent visit. So Jason Peters might be back in town. Very interesting, very notable, and also not really all that encouraging, if we're being honest, right? Because Jason Peters, 42 years old, he did play a little bit last year, and he was, I mean, he was about as good as you could expect from a 41-year-old, right? I guess. 41-year-old off the couch, he comes in there and he looks like he belongs in the NFL barely, but hey, it was better than what we were getting out of some of the other guys on this team, right? And it was an emergency. Well, now we're maybe bringing him back in. We would probably sign him to the practice squad and then elevate him and then see how many times we had to elevate him. And then eventually maybe we just have to elevate him to the full-time roster. Is it an emergency? The answer is seemingly yes. And I will say this, Jason Peters has played a little bit of guard over the last 2 years in the league for Dallas and then for Seattle last year. He did play a little bit at left guard and right guard. That could be the thought here. But more than likely, this is a signing that we are making because we anticipate that Abraham Lucas is not going to be back anytime soon. And Corbin Smith actually had a couple of tweets about that. I hate to be the one reading into things this way, but the Seahawks wouldn't be kicking the tires on Peters again if Lucas was playing anytime soon. I know Peters has played a little guard late in his career, so that may be the reason behind this too, but it just doesn't feel like there's much internal optimism with Lucas right now in Seattle. And I completely agree with that. I think that we're planning on Lucas being back by midseason at best. I think that he'll be back maybe week 10, I think would be a reasonable estimate. And Fant is going to be back before week 10 in all likelihood. So we need somebody to give us a body out at that right tackle spot. So sorry to say that this is probably an indication that Lucas is not coming back anytime too soon. And we need an emergency option because right now we're down to the nub. And if Forsyth were to get hurt, Peters, even 42 years old off the couch, is a better option than anything else we have, which is terrifying, but it is the reality. So this is not something that I'm too encouraged about. At least they're doing something, I guess. Obviously, you could do a lot better than a 42-year-old off the couch, but at the same time, the things that you could do that are better are probably going to cost you assets. Jason Peters isn't going to cost an asset. So I think that this has a real good chance of happening, and I'm not terribly thrilled about it, but at the same time, I think it's necessary to do something like this. At least he has some familiarity with these players, right? At least he has some familiarity with playing with guys like Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and Noah Fant. At least he's been in the building before, right? You can't say that about some of these other players. Okay, so that's the stuff with Jason Peters. Interesting, but ultimately, hopefully not meaningful. If he actually has to play this year, that would be really rough. We'd have to basically start running the ball 65% of the time because I don't think he could pass protect out there. One last thing. This is from Connor Benintendi, practice squad news. So Seahawks have brought back nose tackle Matt Gotel to the practice squad, as well as Ty Hall, a cornerback. Gotel is obviously a nose tackle, and this might be an indication that Byron Murphy's going to miss a game or two because we want to have another guy in the trenches. It could be that. I will say this, part of the reason why there was room on the practice squad was because of George Holani getting put on injured reserve, so he's going to miss some time here. So, by the way, we might need a fourth running back now. We only have 3 on the team, and one of them is McIntosh, who we apparently don't trust to do anything. But, and Walker's still technically hurt. But, yeah. I cannot say this bodes well for Byron Murphy's status. And that's really about it. So I'm going to go and get out of here. Let me know what you guys think. That was a bunch of different things to talk about, but we got to talk about it. All right. I'll see you guys maybe later today, but more than likely tomorrow, maybe tonight on Twitch. Either way, go Hawks.